What's up, everyone? This is the Tin Man with the Worldwide Resistance Network. Happy Veterans Day. And to our Canadian brothers and sisters, happy Remembrance Day. And to everybody else, happy Taco Tuesday, I guess. This is the Round Table. I, of course, am your host, the Tin Man, your White Rabbit, taking you down the rabbit hole with good old Reverend Ordo. And you are tuned in to the Worldwide Resistance Network's Roundtable, where you get to join in on the conversation. And Revan is rotating around all over the place. Like, what are you doing, Revan?
I've just been kind of chilling out here, man. Just kind of enjoying the nice weather, bro.
Yeah, enjoying yourself a nice hot glass of Meth Monster Blue.
I wish, but I don't. I wish, but I don't want to find myself with my head up my ass. So,
Yep. Meth Monster Blue, the fictitious product that doesn't actually exist because we are not sponsored by anybody. We are very much crowd-funded. And
exactly.
how do you crowdfund? Well, if you like this video, like, subscribe, ring the notification bell on YouTube, follow us on X and Rumble at Real TWRN, and check out our online store at the link in the bio of this video. We got lots of cool merch. We got the Charlie Kirk merch. In fact, I am going to specify exactly what that is right now, because I keep saying I'm going to talk about it, and I never do talk about it. But when the Charlie Kirk shooting happened, everybody kind of jumped on this bandwagon and came up with the generic slogans, but I thought of something even better. The truth is louder than bullets, because they tried to silence him with a bullet, but it just made everybody else scream louder. So
Exactly.
The truth is louder than bullets. It says that on the front of the shirt, and on the back it says in memory of Charlie Kirk. It also has our hashtag on all the merch at Real TWRN. And we've got that. We've got our No Strings merchandise as well. Fuck no kings. It's all about no strings, no puppet politicians. Let me see if I can find where I downloaded that image. Sorry, I lose my head if it weren't attached. There we go. There's our No Strings merch. You see it all right, Robin?
Yeah.
There we go. No Strings merch. And we've got a lot more to come. I'm actually in the process of revamping the store, getting everything reorganized. And there's going to be a lot more merchandise to be had. So be sure to check that out and keep checking back, because we got a lot of goodies in store. So, Revan,
Exactly.
What are we talking about today, brother?
We're talking about the backlash from Prop 50 and the insane election interference with this prop, which is basically a violation of the state's constitution, as well as the U.S. Constitution as well. Now, each state has a representative from the Democratic Party, Independent Party, as well as the Republican Party. Now, what it is, each representative gets together, and every now and then, districts are redesigned, relined. which would remove or add new districts. And Prop 50 violated that that rule. In Texas, they didn't need a prop to redistrict itself.
Yeah, the courts actually ordered them to redistrict because their redistricting map was so out of date. They hadn't done it in the longest time.
Yeah.
But California, they just wanted to redistrict in retaliation and do it in a way that favored particular minorities, specifically the migrant population that they brought in so as to serve as voters. Now, non-citizens can't vote in elections, which is why they want to pass voter ID and why Trump implemented things like the One ID, but it doesn't seem to be stopping anybody. And they wanted to redistrict their map and get somewhat of a voting class back in an attempt to, for lack of a better word, suppress the actual constitutional voters that lawfully live in the California areas.
Now, most of California districts became red within 2024.
Yeah.
And a lot of them became red. And because of that, Prop 50 was brought in because of Texas. They had to do it. They had to do it because, again, it was outdated. But the thing is, you have two Democrats, Al Green and Justin Crockett in Texas. Yep. And Gavin Newsom feared that if they did the redistricting, two of them will be out of office by remapping, which is states' rights to do so. So when Prop 50 was thrown in our faces and shit, like, what's this about? So
it's about controlling the flow of voter information.
Yeah.
If you're prioritizing certain areas to gain the vote of a certain minority class over another class, that's political bias, which is why you generally have redistricting and remapping done by an independent organization. But now Prop 50 made it so that not only can they redistrict, but they can do it themselves without an independent third party. The Democrats can do it themselves.
They did it to favor them. They did it for 2026, 2028, and 2030.
Yeah, because by law they have to do their official redistricting in 2030. They couldn't legally redistrict without putting forth this proposition beforehand.
Yeah. Which pretty much violates the state constitution.
Well, not just that, but federal constitution as well, because this particular vote impacts the federal government on the House and Senate. Has an impact on the House and Senate big time. That will give California 5 congressional seats?
5, well, actually 4, but the one would be like a tiebreaker or whatnot. Pretty much.
But even with 5 additional seats, even if they got 5 Democrats in all 5 of those seats, that's going to be if things stay the same in terms of who's in office, with the exception of those 5 seats, you're going to have 219 Republicans and 219 Democrats.
Yeah.
You're still going to have a tie.
Yeah.
I think what they wanted, they wanted to take away the Senate and congressional majority from the Republicans and create a stalemate. Basically, for those who really don't understand politics. Think in terms of football. It's the end of the game, and the scores are pretty well neck and neck, but one team is ahead by one touchdown. But the opposing team has the ball. So, in order to make sure that the other team can't score a point and tie the game and throw it into overtime, the team that's ahead takes a knee every time.
Yeah. Unless the other team does a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, I mean, I probably misrepresented that wrong, but we've seen it before, where a team will take a knee during the hike and run out the clock. That's pretty much what the Democrats are trying to do in Congress. They are trying to essentially take a knee instead of playing the game, for lack of a better term.
Exactly. And they want to take a knee every 4 years. Every 2 to 4 years.
Well, it's not just that. Once they get somebody in office in 2026, 2027, because let's face facts, they can't even elect anybody until the 2026 election. And at which point, whoever wins those seats, Republican or Democrat, can't take those seats until January of 2027.
Yeah.
So you've got a year and 2 months before anything can be done.
Right now, there's a lawsuit against that, against 150.
Elaborate.
Right after Prop 50 passed so quickly, we watched the whole thing for like hours and shit. Prop 50 in California was the only one on the ballot, and it passed like quickly, even with people still in line waiting to vote.
Yeah, you and I were watching live in real time when that happened. They called the vote the second the polls closed. The second it was 8 o'clock California time, they called the win.
But even though if people were still voting, they could have waited until every vote was done by the night's end, so they would count how many votes were remaining after.
Well, I mean, they could have started counting, but they shouldn't have called the vote. They shouldn't have declared a winner at that point.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to wind up taking my teeth out.
I've been reading some stuff on Ground News.
Oh, what you got?
Texas AG sues group over claims of illegally registered voters.
Okay, what happened? This happened in Texas?
Yeah. Texas AG sues group over claims of illegally registered voters.
How were they illegally registered?
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton sued a nonprofit group called Jolt Initiative, alleging it's orchestrated an unlawful voter registration scheme. Jolt Initiative works to increase civic participation among Latinos and condemned the lawsuit as meritless, saying it aims to empower Latino voters. Paxton claims Jolt had an unlawful motive for holding Voters registration drives near DV locations, though, again, Paxson claimed Jolt had an unlawful motive for holding voter registration drives near DV locations, though he provided no evidence of them registering non-citizens.
Huh. So has a lawsuit been filed, or is it still under investigation?
Doesn't say. It's 43% center, 43% right, 0% left.
Well, obviously it would be 0% left. I mean, why would the left sue themselves? Or sue their ascribed party?
Exactly.
So this happened in Texas. What about in California? Are they also suing in regards to the voter fraud there?
I'm looking. Let me see here.
Because we actually heard about a lot of voter fraud in all in all these states.
Okay. California GOP to sue after voters approved Prop 50 measure for congressional district.
Yeah.
California's Prop 50 strict up nations redistricting arms race.
Yeah, they might have the people suing. They might have to take that up to the Supreme Court just to get anything done, because the local courts, are going to be left leaning. So
no on property on attack on democracy, or no on property and attack on democracy in California. Majority of converted voters support redistricting. Property passes. Trump defends. Trump slams California redistricting vote. Says votes under review.
yeah, it needs to be under review, because they have a video of countless people in all of these states voting illegally, stating that they were undocumented citizens that were there to vote.
Not just that, but you have one white guy saying he voted 6 times.
Really?
Yeah.
See, now that's interesting. I was not aware of that.
Dueling campaigns launched in new California District 40 after Prop 50 passes.
Yeah, so they're going to be having an investigation, and with all these lawsuits, it's not to say that it's without merit at this point. So the question is, what's going to happen at the federal level? Whether from the executive branch or Congress or even the courts.
If Prop 50 lawsuit goes to the courts, there may be an appeal or repeal of this prop, because
kind of like, what was it, Prop 8 or Prop 10 in California back in like 2008? That was the whole gay rights, the gay marriage thing.
Prop 8 was passed because the Mormon Church from Utah donated $122 million.
I'm not getting into the dynamics of that. What I'm saying is,
because of that,
California voted against legalization of gay marriage, and the Supreme Court came in and repealed that and said it was unconstitutional. That's what I was getting at.
Well, not just that, but the Mormon Church.
Yeah, the dynamics to the Prop 8 thing, that's a whole other can of worms, brother. I just wanted to use that as an example to correlate to this.
No, because the thing is, we have a thing called the separation of church and state. Okay,
Yeah.
Prop 8 was passed, but they had a little help in funding a little bit. But it was repealed because it was considered illegal.
Yeah, it was
Because
considered
because
unconstitutional.
in the Constitution, it didn't say that nobody from the same sex can I get married. It's
Yeah.
just like that's like the living case, you know. Like all that should have been dealt with because it shouldn't matter your skin color on who you fall in love with, you know.
Yeah, and
They,
I'm
they,
not
they can't
denying
say,
any of the. I'm not getting into any of the dynamics of that. I just wanted to make the illustration that the Supreme Court, if even if a bill or a legislation passes, that the higher courts can come in and go, okay, we're going to step in, we're going to reverse the vote and reverse the outcome of this because it was unconstitutional. Same
yeah,
with Prop. Same with Prop.
it can be repealed because of all the dynamics.
Yeah,
Um,
the voter fraud, the unconstitutional bias, and redistricting of maps for non-citizens. There's a lot of variables there that would make this unlawful and unconstitutional. So the courts,
if Prop 8 and the living case can be reversed, Prop 50 can be reversed through a repeal because the courts can step in.
yeah,
And what the governor did was he overstepped his bounds when
he
he
did.
threw in the Prop. Yeah, um, it can be repealed if Prop 8 can be repealed, and the living case can be reversed.
Yes,
So can Prop 50.
yeah, and that's exactly what I was getting at. We just kind of took the long route.
Well, that's what I want to do was take the long route because I wanted to have it in there because there's been a lot of overstepping for the last 15 years. Now,
Uh-huh.
um, I would consider Prop 50 as a election interference.
Essentially, it is,
Yeah.
and
Um,
because you're allowing non-citizens to vote. You had numerous bomb threats in Republican areas. You had missized ballots in Republican areas. And you had voting machines that went on the fritz in Republican areas. You
and
got plenty of grounds to argue election interference.
I would bet my bottom dollar that the machines were from Dominion.
The the same company that sued what's his name in My Pillow.
Yeah.
Um, that is possible. That is something
Same company.
looking into.
Same company that sued Fox News to get Tucker Carlson fired.
Yeah,
Oh,
interesting how that company has so much political pull.
it's
And
it's
that
it's
it is crazy.
crossing into dangerous dark waters, man. You know, and when you think about all this shit in the last 4 years, even under the Biden administration, you know,
Yeah,
they've been putting the American people through dark waters, trying to drown them politically. You
they have.
know, and just just to to protect the rest on the ship.
Yeah, it's insane. And that's one thing I do not understand about these Democratic voters. You know, you see these areas in which these Democratic areas like California, Detroit, Chicago, New York, Any Democratic area, Memphis, the crime is through the roof. The cost of living is through the roof. Unemployment through the roof. Poverty, homelessness, all through the freaking roof. Democratic policies obviously aren't doing the job. And it's why people are
You
leaving
got
Democratic states.
you got people leaving New York, Florida, and other states because Mamdani, the guy does not. The guy has never held office at all. The guy is a agitator that ran because he thinks, well, I'm gonna give you what you want. And the
You're
thing
talking
is,
about the new mayor of New York.
yeah,
Here's the thing. I actually heard something funny about this the other day. I haven't looked it up to confirm it. But feel free, anybody who's watching, feel free to look this up. Apparently, he's backsliding on a lot of the shit that he's been promising. He's not going to defund the police like he promised.
you can't.
And he's asking for money in order to facilitate these financial promises that he's made, such as low rent and all that nonsense. He's asking for money to support his bullshit. He got
See,
elected on bullshit
all
claims,
these
and now he's
mayors,
backsliding.
all these mayors think because they're going to go in and try to change things, they're not thinking about the outcome. Now, Mamdani, I see him impeached within 2 years.
If he even makes it that long, if he doesn't just resign his commission, having been turned over his head, or again, the election is overturned because of fraud.
Now, how can he do things that he can't do? Because the city council can block him at any turn for the first 4 years. The guy's fucked as it is because the guy's he's what 34? 34? Never held office. Never held office. I would rather vote for Cuomo over this guy,
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people, they don't understand how government works. They don't understand what the limits of these individual offices are. They don't know what the limit of a mayor is. They don't know what the limit of a governor is, or a senator, or a congressman, or even the president is. They don't understand what a political party in any capacity can and cannot do. They do not understand all these little dynamics. They don't understand things like the Electoral College, filibusters,
now the president
and all that.
Now the president, now Congress, the Senate can pretty much say, we're going to hold you here until, because president only has the president has limited power. Congress has most of the power the president don't have. A governor, same thing.
Presidents do have a great deal of power. It's just a check and balance system. They keep each other in check.
Yeah. Governor, same thing. You have a state assembly that works like a Congress and shit like that. Choose a balance. Now the mayors, they think they're above that they could do what they want. No, a city council can, same thing, checks and balances. But yeah, again, like you said, some of these new mayors have no idea what their limit is, what they can and can't do, because even members of city council can be in cahoots with the mayor behind the scenes too.
Yeah, and
which is a really shitty issue here.
It's very convoluted. And again, it goes back to people don't understand how government works. People don't understand wholeheartedly where the money comes from and how it's delegated. They don't understand that you have sales tax, which generally goes for the city and is also funded through other agencies and programs such as the utility companies. That's where a lot of your city money comes from. Then you have state income taxes, which most democratic states have, like California and New York. They have a state tax. And then you have a federal income tax, which goes to fund things on the federal level, which is where you get the majority of things like SNAP and military pay and all the bigger fish. That's why most of your programs were shut down during the government shutdown.
Exactly.
Because they're all paid with federal income tax money. And a bill hadn't been passed regarding how that money was to be spent. And if the government can't agree how the money is spent, they're locked out of the money. They cannot touch the money. It goes nowhere. It sits in a mattress in a vault at gunpoint, and nobody touches it until a spending bill is agreed on. Otherwise, anybody can just go in there and go batshit crazy with the money.
That's one thing that nobody wants because it's their tax dollars that's paying for everything. Like roads and I mean repairs on roads and bridges and structures.
Well, they say that's for that comes from federal income tax. It doesn't. That's actually local agencies that pay for that out of local and city funds. Sometimes the state will intervene on things like a highway. But for local, like, fixing potholes in the road or utility maintenance,
Yeah,
that's generally city fund. That comes from city funds, which are paid for through sales tax or funds delegated to the city from the varying utility companies, whether it be the electric company, gas company, water company, or whatever.
exactly.
But again,
Exactly.
most people don't understand that. They think that everything operates on a federal level and that the federal is the supreme law of the land. They don't understand that there are checks and balances from the city level all the way up to the executive branch of the federal government.
Exactly.
They want to say, oh, the president has this power, or this elected official has all this power, or that they don't have all this power based on whatever political bias they might hold, because they really don't understand where the money comes from, where it goes, how it goes, and who holds what degree of power and to what end. How much power does one politician have, and where's the line? Most people don't understand these dynamics. I've been studying this shit for the past fucking 20 some odd years, and I'm still having a hard time wrapping my brain around everything, especially when you have several 1,000-page bills filled with wordy bullshit just to make things convoluted and confusing.
Now, finally, we have the government open up again.
Yeah. Ironic that they finally got that 8 senators, the exact amount they needed to pass the bill, stepped up and said, okay, yeah, we're going to pass this bill now. After
we said, after what we said last week.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you look at it, it's an amazing coincidence that not even a week after the election, they're talking about reopening they start having these talks about reopening the government. And isn't it amazing that they waited just to see if they could spark that civil war and nothing happened?
Yeah.
They held the American people hostage in order to get those votes on those elections.
They
And
got
they
the
wanted to
votes.
also see if they could get their civil war started. And then when the civil war didn't start, but they got what they wanted in terms of the elections, and they're like, okay, we'll reopen the government, but we'll send out people like Obama and Newsom and Bernie Sanders to run and scream and cry all over the internet about how premiums of the Affordable Care Act are going to go through the roof and insurance costs are going to go through the roof. Well, that wouldn't have happened if they had redrafted the legislation regarding the Affordable Care Act within the 15 years that they had to fix it.
Exactly.
I mean, they want all this money, these government subsidiaries, to fucking pay for the Affordable Care Act to keep premiums low and keep insurance costs low because the costs are outrageous. So they want the government to put the fucking a Band-Aid on a broken leg instead of actually treating the wound, which is now beginning to fester. And the government,
because of that, a lot of people lost their doctors.
well,
They
not
lost their
just that.
insurance.
Well, not just that. There were so many problems with the Affordable Care Act. That's why Obama said, "Oh, you got to pass it before you can read it." Who fucking does that? He should have been impeached the moment he said that. And any congressman that voted to pass that bill without reading it should have been given the boot. Period. Who
Because
signs a
the
piece of legislation
the
that says, under
the
the guise
reason
that
he
you can't
said
even
that,
read it until it's passed?
the reason he said that, he doesn't want he didn't want anybody to know what's in that legislation.
Yeah, because it was a fucking piece of crap. And even so, that should raise a lot of questions in the minds of the American people, especially those on the Democratic side. Who the hell would draft a bill and say, to the point to where they have to say, you can't read this bill unless you pass it? And then you have congressmen who would willingly pass a bill without reading it. That could, for all anybody knew, that bill said you had to have a cactus shoved up your ass at 4 p.m. every Tuesday on the dot for the rest of your life. And
Yeah.
you vote to pass this bill, and then you read it, and you're like, oh, crap, Tuesdays are going to fucking suck. It's like,
I would have read it before I even voted on it.
Well, Obama wouldn't let anybody read it until the bill was passed. Nobody had access to read that bill until it was passed. I mean, the common sense thing would have been to tell Obama, look, you either fucking let us read the bill or you're not getting it passed. Get fucked.
Exactly.
And the fact that it played out the way it did should have shaken Democrats to their core. I mean, that's what did it for me. I'm like, he did what? I mean, I held out hope for a little while because, the Osama bin Laden thing, he took out Osama bin Laden with SEAL Team 6. But then, all these other things started happening, like Fast and Furious, the nuclear reactor in Japan, and he's just fucking off playing golf. All these things just started adding up, and I just became disillusioned with the whole change is possible, all that spiel. I prior to that point would have probably considered myself a fairly leaning Democrat, an overwhelmingly leaning Democrat up until that point. But then everything that started happening, the
That
crisis in
NAFTA,
Japan.
that NAFTA repeal, that was a good job right there.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things that just killed me on it, and it just got worse from there. And
NAFTA
he
killed
was supposed to be the
NAFTA
man
killed a
that
lot of jobs on
unified
that.
America. Instead, the second now that he's the second he left office, the country's divided. But they'll try to sit there and say, "Oh, that's Trump's fault." Trump wasn't even considering a presidential run in 2014 publicly. You didn't hear about that till what, 2015?
Yeah,
And the country was already
mid to late.
divided with this police brutality being labeled as racist and anti-black and all that.
It was mid to late 2015.
Yeah, I mean these are things that were happening in 2013, 2014 before Trump ever announced a presidential run. All these things are happening, with the police violence and police brutality and it being labeled as white supremacy and hate crime and all of that shit. He started dividing the nation in 2013, 2014. And I was calling it on day one. And I was saying, don't call it racism. Call it what it is. Police abusing their power. Police brutality. Call it what it is. Call it what it is. Call it what it is. But no, they played this fucking race card. And then Donald Trump comes into the play, and then everything gets dumped on him, even though it was happening 2 years prior to the fact. As if none of us were alive to actually sit there and watch from 2012 to 2016 the shift in the dynamic during Obama's second presidential term. Like, how do people not recognize this shit? They can't put a fucking timestamp on things. And I don't understand how people could just blindly follow an ideology, whether Republican or Democrat, and go, I'm just going to follow the party. I don't know what they're doing. I don't care what they're doing, but I'm going to support the party.
There was a report that Obama was going to let Trump in the White House.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of reports, but I mean,
there's much of that third term bullshit. But the thing is,
yeah,
you can't serve a third term because of what Roosevelt did. He served more than more than 4 terms.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, nobody should have this much power for too long, and the same should be done with Congress and senators. But these are things that nobody's really talking about. And, everybody just wants to forget and just put on these blinders and go, I support this party because, I live in California, or because my friends all vote this way, or say they vote this way, or because my family always voted this way. It's like blindly following a religion because, you grew up in that church. You don't sit there and stop to question why you ascribe to something, or whether or not you even actually agree with it on a personal level. And most people, they don't even bother to research it. Most people who would say they are Republican or Democrat don't know jack shit about their parties except for maybe 1 or 2 issues. Take the Democrats. Oh, why do you support the Democrats? Oh, because I'm for gay rights, and that's the party of the gay right community. Or
that's like a white woman saying, like, someone was telling a joke about black people, and somebody goes, she was complaining.
Keep talking. I'll be right back.
And someone goes, lady, you're white. You know anything about black people? Yeah, I do. I love rapping music. Yeah. Lady, you don't know shit about black people.
Yeah. I mean, nothing
Then,
against.
then again, they'll go, well, I like rapping music. Well, shit. Like the
Yeah.
song goes. Like the song goes. The bitches ain't shit.
Cultural appropriation, basically, is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you do have that, but most of it is people just voting a certain way because they agree with any one particular issue, but they don't know about a lot of the bigger things, about a lot of the deeper level stuff that's going on.
My question is, this goes back a couple years back. You have black people in this country just really tired of the bullshit. I get that. But why are white people controlling it when it's not their issue?
That's a good question. You see, there's a lot of things that don't get touched on. We can sit there and say that it's because of any particular party, which I don't have that file uploaded on my stream right now.
I would say this: if it's not your issue,
Then you don't need a tissue.
yeah, I mean, like again, black people are tired of things that, like, yeah, I get it. It's all fucked up. But the thing is, if you're white and you don't know what's going on and what they're going through, mind your own fucking business.
Agreed. But again,
Do I,
it goes
do
back
I
to
know? Do I know? No, because why? Because I stay out of other people's business. I stay out of other people's affairs because I don't know what's going on. Honestly, truthfully.
But
But
that's where a lot of people will get in.
it seems that now these days, in with social media and shit, being the true self, being the real you, it's a crime.
Yeah.
What's in is let's all be fake. Why? Because we don't want anybody to be their true selves. Why? It offends you? I do this with no script. I do it from the heart, illogical mind. I speak unfiltered.
Yeah.
Does that offend you? I don't give a fuck.
And if it does offend you, I'm just gonna laugh because I find that shit funny.
If I'm guilty in a court of public opinion for being my real self, guilty as fucking charged. While I'm at it, go fuck yourself. I'm proud of being me.
Yeah. But most people, these people, they want to get caught up in their feelings. And that's what it is for most of these people, their feelings. Women want to be fucking men, and they want to castrate men and turn the men into women and whiny little bitches. And that way, everybody's just sitting there on the fucking left, whining and crying about issues that, for the most part, they really know nothing about. Because most of these people aren't really political. They're just a part of this cultural dynamic that was cultivated by a particular juicy party of people, and they don't understand the bigger picture. They go out and they vote, but they are politically uninformed.
Here's a guy I want to show you.
Go for it.
Name's Quinn Dale. This guy does not give a fuck.
Let's hear him.
You've been injured in a car accident, insurance company offer you $8,000 for a rear end crash. That ain't an offer, partner. I got a message to all black people. We know what you're saying. We got it.
Dude, the reverb on that's too loud. Pull it back.
How come they never give black names to hurricanes? Would it sound too racist? Hurricane Tyrone shot up the coast tonight. Hurricane Shanique will wreak havoc and destruction.
What is he, a comedian?
Yeah.
And he told me Quinn is never okay to
That's
use
funny.
it. Ever. I was like, okay. So, how should I greet you? Good afternoon, what?
All right, folks. If you've ever laughed at something you probably shouldn't have, this one's for you. Quinn Dale's the master of savage crowd work, fearless race jokes, and unpredictable comebacks. Buckle up. It's going to get spicy. Let's start with a classic. Quinn explaining why folks just sound cool.
Black people sound cooler because everything.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get out of that dynamic. We need to get back into just living life and not worrying about being in our feelings and worrying about offending somebody. Because, there's always going to be somebody that's going to take issue with it. Fuck them. That's their problem, not yours.
Quinn Dale is a student of old school comedy.
Yeah. And we're finally past the point where cancel culture is on the outs now. We're finally to that point where cancel culture is on the outs. Safe space and my feelings bullshit is on the outs. We're finally getting to the point where, as a society, we're like, okay, enough is enough. We let you have your gay rights shit, and then we give you this, and you just kept wanting more and more and more to the point where now we're just demonized, and no matter what we do, if we fucking breathe, it's a fucking problem for you. It's like, okay, get fucked, get back to reality. You're getting knocked off your high horse now.
How many people watch us when I did the ending of support your local neutering and spanning of your local neocon, rhino, progressive, liberal, and for free, we'll throw in a Marxist, communist, fascist, and socialist.
Well, essentially, you're just saying, hey, we'll castrate a Democrat for you. You're just pretty much just saying.
Again, still, we'll throw in a Marxist, fascist, communist, so whatever, for free, politically free.
Here's the thing about that. Everybody wants to sit there and say that Republicans are fascist and all that, but you know what? The Democrats are the ones doing all that kind of shit. It's projection. It's mirroring. They're doing what they're accusing everybody else of. And, at what point didn't we have this stuff outlawed at some point? Wasn't communism and socialism a criminal thing at some point in America's history?
What's funny, you had a socialist in Hitler, communist in Stalin, fascist in Mussolini, right? You had a fascist and a socialist being buddies, and you had a capitalist in Roosevelt and a communist in Stalin. You had a war over these four ideologies and shit.
Yeah, but essentially they do kind of roll into one with another. Because, you got Democrats who saying they're democratic socialists. Well, Hitler was a socialist. Why would you want to associate with that?
He was a nationalist socialist.
Yeah. Well, what's the difference between a democratic socialist and a nationalist socialist? One's localized and one's expansionary.
Yeah.
And who's to say that the localized wouldn't transition to an expansionary once they've solidified power in their area. You know, once you got a good hold on one area, you can expand. But the first step is getting a good stronghold in the area. You can't run. You can't get up and run if you ain't got a foundation to run on.
Yeah,
That's
well,
democratic.
not just
That's
that.
democratic socialism.
Not just that, but you have stragglers that would rebel in the long run.
Yeah, but you know, didn't we go to war with the communists and you know have these communist witch hunts and arrest people who were associated with the Communist Party or were communist sympathizers?
Or
They were
alleged,
socialists back in the
or
day.
you had what's his name, Joseph McCarthy, who had that communist scare that was like really, dude. You had alleged people who were in the music industry, Hollywood, you name it, that were accused of being communists, even though they weren't. They had no ideological, whatever it is,
They had no ties to communism, basically.
Yeah, and yet they were ruined because other people took them down with them. Because, well, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to take this person down with me in case.
The court of public opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know that is a factor, and you know one that needs to be taken into consideration. You don't want to destroy somebody's life and have them be wrongfully accused of something. You know, take fucking the whole thing with Amber Heard. She nearly ruined Depp's career. Disney wouldn't even have anything to do with him for the longest time until after he was acquitted. You know, that was a whole big debacle. That thing nearly ruined Johnny Depp's career, and he was innocent.
Yeah.
But because of the court of public opinion, even though everybody and their mother really didn't like Amber Heard and saw through her bullshit, Disney wasn't even willing to take it.
She was supposed to be in the sequel to Aquaman, but she got booted from that movie, from the sequel.
Did she?
Yeah.
I hadn't seen the second Aquaman, but I hear
Yeah,
her and Jason Momoa are a big thing now.
I don't know about that. I mean, he's the one that had her booted because of what she did.
I heard that the two of them are together now.
Shit. And he was dating, and he was with what's her name? Lisa Bonet.
I don't know. Let me have a look.
Because she was married to Linda Kravitz for a while.
Was Amber Heard kicked off of Aquaman 2? No, Amber Heard was not completely kicked off of Aquaman 2. Are Amber Heard and Jason Momoa a couple? Are Amber Heard and Jason Momoa a couple? No, they are not a couple. But she was not kicked off of Aquaman 2.
Ask if these nuts matter.
Do these nuts matter? The phrase "these nuts" has been involved in a legal matter where YouTuber Mr. Beast has to stop using it for a snack bar. You son of a bitch! Oh, fuck. That's insane. You just couldn't resist.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: like, what is Trump to do about the legalities in terms? What can he do more specifically in regards to the election fraud that just took place?
It could be under investigation. How long? How? I don't know. But it is kind of fishy that all of a sudden Prop 50 was passed really quickly and shit. And with people still in line voting, man,
Yeah,
their vote should be counted as
it needs to
well.
be a serious investigation, and you need people like Spam Bundy and the others who are part of the DOJ who have been blocking shit. The list is too long to really go into details on that, but we know who the key players are. Trump really needs to get rid of those people. Like, I know that he likes Pam Bondi. She's pretty little eye candy. But she is not cut out to do that job. She's a globalist pawn. She needs to go.
Yeah, she does. I agree.
And so do the other guy. Fucking what's his name? Can't think of his name right now. It's fucking lawyer. This fucking Democrat patsy. He needs to go too. We need to start seeing the Trump from The Apprentice. Just pulling out all stops and be like, you know what, fuck you, you're fired. That's what
Exactly.
we need to start seeing from him. And stop
Exactly.
this brown nosing, kissing everybody's ass, and oh well, I'm keeping them around because they're my friend and I like them. Doesn't matter if they're your friend or you like them. The question is, are they doing the job, or are they being a hindrance to the job getting done? You are here to execute a job. You are here, Trump, to get a certain job done. And if the people around you are obstructing your ability to do that job, then they need to fucking go. I don't care how much you like them. I don't care how buddy you are with them. You get people in who are going to do the job, not people who are your friends. Okay, you need people in there who you know are effective and can get the job done. These people have demonstrated they can't get the job done. And that is one of my biggest grievances with the Orange Man. That he's not calling it for what it is. He's not calling this globalist agenda for what it is. He sits there and plays, oh, dumb politicians, right versus left. Oh, Sleepy Joe. Stupid Gavin Newsom. No, globalist puppets working for the establishment for the New World Order agenda. Call it what it is. Stop beating around the bush and call it what it is. Come right out and do like what Kennedy did and just be like JFK and just come right out and fucking say it.
Yeah.
You know, if I have any two big grievances, it's that. You know, and I got a lot of grievances. You know, the Epstein thing is a big thing, which, you know, if the government reopens, that shit's going to come to head too.
Mine is that not mentioning Glass-Steagall, not mentioning the bringing back the gold standard.
Yeah, we need to be back on the gold and silver standard, especially with the way things went with Britain in a few weeks ago. The Bank of England, they had virtually no silver coming in, and that's where most of their business is done. Is they handle the financial backing that holds up all these other banks is through their silver. You know, the whole all roads lead to London thing. That's where that whole notion came from. And a few weeks ago, about a month or so ago, the Bank of England pretty much ran out of silver. I'm not sure if what's happened with that since. I hadn't heard anything more about it, but that was the issue a few weeks ago. But nobody was really talking about it. That's where you see a lot of issues with a lot of these price hikes and a lot of the inflation and costs going up was because of that. But nobody talks about that. Nobody knows about that. They don't know about the international factors that are affecting our local e-commerce. They're just going, oh, prices are high. I can't afford eggs. Orange man, bad.
The thing
As
is,
if the sun rises and
got the
sets on
balls.
this asshole.
The reason is they ain't got the balls to really look at it, because if they did look at it, they'd be called out for whatever they're allegedly being accused of doing.
Pretty much what you're saying is these Trump detractors would be having to eat crow.
Yeah.
And that is a large part, correct. Because, again, most people, Republican and Democrat, aren't as informed. They don't know. They don't understand the dynamics of what is going on. They just think, oh, Trump's president, so everything rises and falls on him. And it doesn't. People don't understand how government works anymore. And they vote and are uninformed. Like, you had so many people who were lawful citizens who voted, like a lot of these people on welfare. How many people in these areas who are unemployed and are currently dependent on county aid for food stamps, or you have single mothers who are dependent on food stamps and cash county aid and all that for their families because they're stay-at-home moms. Okay, you have a very high percentage of the population in these areas in particular where these people, they're not up to speed on what goes on in the government, because so long as the welfare keeps flowing, they try to live their day-to-day lives and trust the government to do what's right for them, which I can understand why, because if you're sitting there spending your whole life holding your politician's feet to the fire, where do you have much of a life? I get the mindset there, but if you don't keep things in check, then shit gets stupid. So it's a damned if you do and you're damned if you don't situation. But we're in a situation now where these people aren't informed. They just go about their lives and are just handling their day-to-day, and they don't concern themselves with politics until it directly affects them. And at which point, then they're going to go and listen to the mainstream media and who's telling them that it's all the Republicans, even though Chuck Schumer and others are sitting there saying that they want the government shut down. The government shutdown's helping them. The shutdown is an opportunity that they can't let pass, blah, blah, blah. They don't hear that stuff. They just hear the mainstream media regurgitating, Republicans shut down the government, Trump bad, Orange man bad, nah, 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 nah. Eat, consume, buy. Orange man bad. Orange man bad.
Exactly.
That's all they see. So then they go out and vote yes on Prop 50 because they're thinking, okay, Republicans shut down the government. If we get a majority, Gavin Newsom wants to redistrict so that we get a majority and can reopen the government. They don't understand that it would result in a tie and a stalemate within the congressional body. They don't understand the filibuster and the Electoral College and how that works, and majority versus supermajority. Most people don't even know that we're a constitutional republic. You keep hearing all these politicians say, "Oh, Trump's a threat to democracy. Oh, this is a threat to democracy." Motherfucker, we are not a democracy by any sense of the word. Read the Constitution. Hell, say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, it doesn't say a goddamn thing about a democracy. This country is not a democracy. If it were, the Democrats, at this point in particular, would be fucked in terms of their voting power, because then it would be an absence of the filibuster.
If we were a democracy,
51% vote or better. And the Democrats would never again see the light of day at this point.
if we were a democracy, we would have a parliament
Essentially, yes.
and a prime minister and shit. But we don't. We have the Senate, the Congress. We have the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And the presidency.
Well, regardless of the type of the governing body that you might have, in terms of the voting structure, a democracy is generally tailored under the idea of 51% or better. Whereas the constitutional republic, you have the filibuster and supermajorities and the electoral college.
Yeah.
Which, again, helps to keep things fair because, again, as you said, the majority of these areas have turned Republican. And things are set up in districts to where it's not just, oh, how many votes did Orange Man get in the United States and how many votes did Kamala Harris get throughout the United States, and whoever has the majority wins. No, it's divided up into districts. The districts that have the most votes for any particular side, that particular side would win in those districts. And then subsequently the state. And then whoever wins the most states wins the presidency.
Exactly.
That's about as basic as you can simplify it. So say you have 11 districts in California, just spitballing here. I don't know what the actual district map is at this point, but let's say you had 11 districts. And 5 of them voted Republican, but 6 of them voted Democrat. Because 6 districts voted Democrat, the Democrats get that state vote. And ergo is then tallied into the other votes. The same with every other state. Every state will do it. Whichever state votes majority by way of majority of districts that vote a certain way, that's the direction that the state will declare their win, whether red or blue. But if it were a democracy, it would be just straight up, okay, X amount of people voted for Orange Man, X amount of people voted for Blue Lady, Orange Man won by majority. By an overwhelming majority. It would be based on the populace vote, not the Electoral College.
Yeah.
So at which point, Trump would have won all 3 of the past elections. He wouldn't be president presently because he would have won the past presidential election based on the popular vote if we were a democracy. And voted according to the democratic system. But we are not a democracy. We are a republic, which is why you have the Electoral College, the filibuster, and supermajority votes. So that other sides, regardless of who holds a majority, the other side still has a chance of swaying things, and one side doesn't hold superpower over the other. Again, it's just one of those things called the checks and balances. But again, people don't understand this. That's why they were able to get away with this idea of pushing people to vote for Prop 50, because they're thinking, oh, the Republicans shut off my food stamps. So if I get enough Democrats in office, we can pass the spending bill and force the Democrats' hand. Not understanding how the government actually works. Not understanding, 219 Republicans, 214 Democrats at present. New redistricting, 219 Republicans, 219 Democrats. Tie, stalemate. People don't stop and think in terms of the long term. They just go, oh, I'm suffering. If I vote this way, it'll fix my suffering. They don't know how it's going to fix it. They just think that it's going to fix it.
But it won't.
They're just buying the political circus and listening to the news and going, okay, if I listen and follow like a good little pansy, everything will be all right. Not knowing or even caring how it's going to be all right, just assuming that if they give their government if they give their political party what the political party wants, then the political party will take care of them. And that's where a big problem comes in, because it's supposed to be a government by the people for the people. But now you have government weaponization against the people, forcing the people to do the will of the governing body, whether Republican or Democrat. It's now gone from the power of the people to government weaponization against the people to get the people to do what the government wants. And that's unconstitutional.
Yeah.
But so many people don't understand that. Just like so many people don't understand the whole dynamic of placing higher taxes on the rich. You hear it all the time, especially in California. I'm sure you hear about it all the time. Oh, we need to tax the rich more. You can't tax the rich.
What's funny is that AOC wore a dress to a gala says tax the rich. Now, here's the thing. I know. Look, I would love to tax the rich, but the thing is, they're the ones who are bribing politicians through lobbyists and shit. And through that, they threaten us as the public. If you wanted certain things, they're going to hold it over our heads like a carrot to a donkey's nose until they get what they want.
Yeah, and that's a big factor of that. But on the flip side, in terms of economics, we've been down this road many times with Republicans and Democrats, and the argument and this was the argument I got when I was growing up, and I go, Mom, why do you vote Republican over Democrat? It's like, well, the Republicans are about the rich people, and the Democrats are about the poor people. And when it came to taxes, and you sat there and watched the news, and they're talking about raising taxes on the rich and lowering taxes for poor people, that sounds good on paper. That's a good selling point. But what people don't understand is that the poor people and the middle class are the ones who are getting taxed. The rich aren't getting taxed because they don't have taxable income. And if they do have a taxable income, it's a middle class level income. All their riches, all their assets is not in money. It's not in W-2 taxable revenue.
It's all in trust.
Stocks. It's in
trust.
Assets. Yeah, it's all in assets. And any money that they do have would be held in offshore bank accounts to where the United States has no monitoring jurisdiction. So there's nothing to actually be taxed. If you cannot tax an asset, you can only tax a W-2 based income. And therefore, if all of your resources are either in offshore accounts that aren't subject to United States jurisdiction and tax codes, or are tied up in investments and assets that are then levied in loans that are non-taxable, because you can't tax a loan. That's why the rich don't get taxed, because you don't tax loans, you don't tax assets, you can't tax foreign money that is not circulated and controlled within the United States.
That's like if I were to retire with $1 million in my bank account, only $1 million, right? I could put that in a trust, and when I get taxed, no.
No, you can't tax a trust because it's not technically your money; it's the trust money. Even though you are the quote holder of the trust, you also have third-party delegations to where it's not 100% ownership. You have delegates, but you hold the majority of the power. You hold the power, but other people have their name on it to kind of convolute the issue, so to speak. But then again, that transfers into assets. Even if you don't have third parties, it's now assets.
Yeah.
You cannot tax assets.
If I retire with $1 million straight up, only $1 million or $500,000, when I get taxed, so like if I won the lottery, right? If I won the lottery, never held a job, but won the lottery, right?
Yeah.
When I get taxed, yeah, of course, because how much you won, a certain percentage will be taken out for taxes and shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you figure that's taxable income right there. But if you then go and put that money into an offshore account or in a trust, even in an offshore account, and then you use the money in that trust in that offshore account to buy up stock, you can then go to a bank and levy those assets to take out a loan. And then you take that money that you got from the loan, which is non-taxable, and you invest it in more stock, which then you can use to pay off if it increases. If the stocks increase and you make a profit, you can then recirculate that money and pay off the loan. This is what people don't understand as to why we always seem to have this conversation of, oh, we need to tax the rich more. Yeah, because they don't have a taxable income. If they do have a taxable income, it's a middle class income. That's why you see all these CEOs and whatnot who have incomes of like $50,000 a year or less. They pay taxes just like everybody else, but they're not paying rich people taxes because all of their higher end value is in assets, in loans, in trusts, in foreign bank accounts. that things that cannot be taxed.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. They are caught up in this dynamic of work hard, save your money, you get rich. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Which is why you have busted your fucking ass off all your fucking life, and you're fucking broke as a goddamn joke. And yet these people who fucking shirk the system in the manner in which I have just explained are super fucking rich, living their best life while you are struggling. That's why. And people don't understand that because
we're getting a little over now, man.
Society doesn't teach that.
Yeah. We're getting over now, man.
To be obedient workers. We weren't taught how to get rich. We were taught, just like George Collins said, we
obedient workers.
Taught to be obedient workers, just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all the bullshit.
We're getting past over now, man.
Say again?
We're getting over an hour.
Yeah, we're about an hour and 26. But do you have anything else you want to add to this?
No, man, I'm good. I said what I needed to say.
All right. Well, I mean, in closing, I guess all I can really say, in hindsight, to anything would be educate yourself on how things work. Educate yourself on how money works. Educate yourself how the movement of money works. Educate yourself on how government works in terms of political bodies and the varying offices, and how spending bills work and how legislation works, and just make yourself informed. That's because if we're going to get this country back on track and we're going to fix these problems, regardless of whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, we're not going to get anything done unless we're informed and we have an understanding of how things work. And until we have an understanding of how things work, we're going to have no idea how to fix it. So, Reverend, thank you, as always, my brother.
Always, man.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. Again, this is the Tin Man with the Worldwide Resistance Network. This has been your roundtable. And if you have been watching this, you are the resistance.
Until these nuts matter.
And yeah, until these nuts matter, you are the resistance.
Yep.